I want to show you something that might make you a little frustrated. Not with your doctor, with the system your doctor works inside of. Because what you are about to hear is not complicated. It is not advanced medicine. It is not something only a specialist would know. It is practical biology that has been sitting in published research for years. Studies that real patients could read and use. Information that could have changed how 4 years of appointments went for someone like Eleanor. It just never makes it through the door of a standard appointment. Not because it is secret, because 15 minutes is not enough time. Because what I am about to share has been sitting in medical research for years. It is not secret. It just never makes it into the 15-minute appointment. There are 7 things happening inside your body right now that keep pushing your blood pressure up every single day. Your medication is handling one of them. The other 6 are still running. And by the end of this video, you are going to know all 7. I am saving number 5 for last, not to drag it out. Because 5 is the one that is going to make you look at something in your kitchen and think, I have had this wrong the whole time. Stay with me. Eleanor was 71. She had been a librarian for 31 years. She was the kind of woman who had a system for everything. Her books were organized. Her appointments were on time. Her medications were lined up on the kitchen counter in the order she took them. When her doctor told her at 67 that her blood pressure needed a pill, she did not argue. She filled the prescription that day. She stopped using salt entirely, not just reduced it, eliminated it from her cooking. She walked every morning for 45 minutes, rain or shine. She lost 12 pounds that year. She tracked her readings in a notebook. She had a column for the top number, a column for the bottom number, a column for the time of day, and a column for notes. She had been told that tracking was good practice, so she tracked. She did every single thing she was told to do, and she did not miss a day. And on page 43, the notebook ran into a wall. And here is what nobody told her was happening inside her blood vessels the whole time she was doing all of that. 4 years later, her numbers were still too high. A second pill was added at year 2. The numbers moved a little for 6 weeks. Eleanor had been keeping a notebook, tracking every reading, every appointment, every change. 7 weeks in, the numbers drifted back. She brought the notebook to her cardiologist. He looked at it. He was a good doctor, thorough, careful. He adjusted the dose. She came back. Same thing happened again. He looked at her and said the words that went on page 43 of her notebook. Resistant hypertension. He told her some people just do not fully normalize. The goal was management. They would keep adjusting and find the right combination. Eleanor wrote it down and accepted it. She trusted the people who had spent their careers on this. She was a librarian. She understood expertise. It was not the final word. When Eleanor worked through all 7 things with me, her top number dropped 28 points in 11 weeks. Her cardiologist cut her second pill in half at the next appointment. He asked what she had changed. She showed him the notebook. He read through several pages. He asked 2 questions. He told her he was going to look into a few of the things she had covered. He wrote something in the chart that was not a dose adjustment. That was a different kind of appointment than the previous 47 had been. I am going to show you what those 7 things were. And when you get to number 5, I want you to think about something specific. Eleanor had been doing a version of number 5 every single day for years. Just the version that does not work. If that sounds familiar when we get there, that is not a coincidence. It is the most common version of that mistake I see. What none of those 4 years of appointments had done was look at the 7 things underneath her numbers that were keeping them up. None of those 7 things had ever been named in an appointment. Not once. When Eleanor dealt with all 7, her top number dropped 28 points in 11 weeks. Her cardiologist cut her second pill in half. He asked what she had changed. I am going to show you all 7, but first, one thing that explains why your medication works but never quite finishes the job. Every blood pressure pill works on exactly one thing. 1. The pill that slows your heart does only that. The pill that makes your kidneys release more water does only that. The pill that stops one specific signal from tightening your blood vessels does only that. Each one was built for a single job. It does that job. Your blood pressure is not being pushed up by one thing. It is being pushed by 7 things at the same time. Your pill handles one of them. The other 6 keep pushing. That is not the pill failing. That is just the way the math works. 1 thing handled, 6 still running. Think of it like a bathtub with 7 faucets running water in. Your medication turns off 1 faucet. The tub is still filling. Not as fast as it was, but it is still filling. Eleanor had been living in that bathtub for 4 years. The doctor kept adjusting the 1 faucet he could see. The other 6 were behind a panel nobody opened. The 6 faucets no one ever looked at are what this video covers. Eleanor's cardiologist was not wrong to prescribe what he prescribed. He followed the right guidelines. The guidelines just were not built to find all 7 things at once. A 15-minute appointment cannot cover what you are watching right now. That is why you are here. Here is what those 7 things are. Hack number 1. The signal your pill never touches. Inside every blood vessel in your body right now, 2 signals are fighting. One signal says, open up. When that one wins, blood flows easily, pressure drops, everything is fine. The other signal says, squeeze tight. When that one wins, the vessel narrows, blood has to push harder, and your pressure goes up. When you were younger, the open up signal won without much effort. Your blood vessels spent most of the time relaxed. Your pressure stayed low without you even thinking about it. Here is what changed. And I want to say this plainly because most people have never heard it explained this simply. 2 things happened at the same time over the last 20 years, and nobody sat you down and explained either one of them. First, your body started making less of the open-up signal. Not 0, just less. Think of it like a tap that used to run full and now runs at half pressure. The water still comes, just not as much. Second, your body started making more of the squeeze-tight signal. More squeezing, less opening. Both happening at the same time. Both going in the wrong direction. Neither one ever mentioned in an appointment. Both of them addressable. Both of them part of what Eleanor's notebook ended up covering. Your blood vessels now spend more of every hour squeezed than they did 20 years ago. Not in a way you can feel. Just enough to show up every time the cuff goes on your arm. Here is something Eleanor noticed in her notebook. Her numbers would come down a little after each medication change, then level off, then drift back toward where they were. She thought she was doing something wrong. She was not doing anything wrong. The pill was doing its one job. The other 6 things were still doing theirs. Here is why your pill has been working, but not finishing the job. Not one blood pressure pill turns down the squeeze signal at the source. Not one. They manage what comes after the squeeze. They slow your heart. They relax the vessel by a different route. They reduce fluid. The squeeze signal itself keeps sending the same message at the same volume, day after day. Nobody ever quiets the source. Before I tell you what addresses it, I want to give you the name of the squeeze signal so you can use it at your next appointment. It is called endothelin 1. Your doctor will know this word. You can say, has anyone ever looked at whether endothelin 1 is elevated and driving some of my resistance? Watch what happens when you say that. Aged garlic, specifically the kind that has been aged for months into a supplement, contains something that quiets the squeeze signal directly. Not after the fact, at the source. Studies have found real drops in both the top and bottom numbers from this. Eleanor had been cooking with garlic for 30 years. She had heard garlic was good for the heart. She was right. But the garlic on her stove does not contain this specific thing. It only develops during a months-long aging process. The bottle has to say aged garlic extract. 600 to 1200 milligrams a day with food. Eleanor's numbers moved when she added this. Not dramatically on its own, but measurably. She wrote it down in the notebook. 1 column for the supplement, 1 column for the date she started, 1 column for what changed in the readings over the following weeks. The movement was real. Small, but real. And combined with what is coming in hack number 2, the movement got bigger. Because hack 2 addresses the other half of the same problem. Because hack 2 is addressing the other side of the same problem. And you cannot fully fix one side without fixing both. But here is what I need you to hold on to as we go into number 2. Even with the squeeze signal quieted, your blood vessels still need the other signal to be strong enough to win. And for most seniors, it is not. Your body makes the open-up signal from a specific ingredient, and there is something happening right now in your blood vessel walls that is consuming that ingredient before the factory ever gets to use it. Eleanor had tried to fix this directly. She had tried the most logical supplement. It did not work. When you hear why, you will understand something that most doctors do not explain because they have never heard a patient bring it up. That is hack number 2. That is number 2. But before I get there, leave a comment below with how many years you have been on blood pressure medication. Just the number. I read every one. And if any of this sounds like your life, the first link in the description says, "Get your protocol." Not a supplement list. The appointment that goes differently this time. First link. Get your protocol. Hack number 2. The thing stealing your open-up signal before it can work. Your body makes the open-up signal inside the cells that line your blood vessel walls. To make it, it needs a certain ingredient. Think of it like a small factory that needs one specific supply to run. Here is the problem. And again, I want to give you the name so you can use it. There is a second job happening inside those same cells that also uses that same supply. Not to make the open-up signal, to make something else entirely. Something useless to your blood vessels. And this second job gets more aggressive as you get older. The older you get, the more of the supply it takes, which means less supply reaches the factory that makes the open-up signal. Less open-up signal gets made. The squeeze keeps winning more often. This is why L-Arginine supplements probably did nothing for you. Eleanor had tried them. 6 weeks. She had gone to a health food store and asked a staff member which brand was best. She had gone home and done more research online. She had taken the right amount at the right time every day for 6 weeks. She wrote her readings down in the notebook every morning. Column for the date, column for the number. 6 weeks of entries. 0 change. She figured the research had been overstated. She stopped and moved on. Her notebook never told her why it failed. Nobody ever told her why it failed. The reason why is one of the most practically useful things in this video, and it takes about 30 seconds to explain. She was right that it was not working. She just never knew why. She was pouring water into a bucket with a hole in the bottom. Every drop she poured was running straight out before the bucket could fill. More water was not the answer. Going around the hole was. Here is the thing about Eleanor's story that gets me every time. She did not fail. She did everything correctly. She just never got the second piece of information that would have made the first piece work. There is something called L-Citrulline, found naturally in watermelon, available as a cheap supplement anywhere. It enters the system through a different door, one the thief cannot access, arrives at the open-up signal factory with the supply intact, and the factory actually gets what it needs. Studies in older adults showed real blood pressure reductions at 3 to 6 grams a day. 3 to 6 grams is roughly 1.5 teaspoons to 3 teaspoons of powder, available at any health food store or online. Eleanor added it to water in the morning. It has almost no taste. 2 things Eleanor's cardiologist never looked at in 4 years: the squeeze signal and the thief draining the supply. Both running the whole time, neither ever found. But even with both of those handled, Eleanor's pressure still was not where it needed to be. Because there was a third thing happening that the first 2 never touched. Not in the signals, inside the walls themselves. A slow, quiet irritation that had been keeping those walls slightly tensed for years. Like a muscle that is never fully relaxed, always a little tight, always resisting a little more than it should. And the place it was hiding is the part of this story that gets me every time. Because Eleanor thought she was already handling it. She was not. She was using the thing that was supposed to help, just the version of it that had the helpful part removed. And she had no way of knowing. Hack number 3, the irritation inside the walls. And the one word on a label that decides whether you have the answer or just the calories. The walls of your blood vessels can get irritated. When they are, the muscle inside those walls stays slightly tense. Just slightly. Constantly. Always a little tighter than it should be. The pressure cuff picks it up every single time. Nobody has ever looked for it in a quarterly appointment. It is not on a blood panel. It does not show up in any of the standard tests. The only place it shows up is in a blood pressure reading that will not come down despite everything a person is doing right. Most people know that ibuprofen slightly lowers blood pressure as a side effect. This is why. Ibuprofen calms that exact irritation in the blood vessel walls. But taking ibuprofen every day is not safe for your kidneys or your heart long term. Researchers discovered something. Fresh, extra virgin olive oil contains a compound that calms the same irritation through the same pathway without any of the risks. They figured this out because swallowing fresh, extra virgin olive oil caused the same specific sting at the back of the throat as swallowing liquid ibuprofen. Same spot, same pathway, no danger. The largest heart diet study ever done found that people who used extra virgin olive oil as their main fat had significantly better blood pressure outcomes than people who used other fats. Eleanor had olive oil on her counter. She had been using it for years because she had read it was good for the heart. She felt good about that choice every time she reached for it. She thought she had this one handled. She did not. The bottle said olive oil, not extra virgin. She had been doing the right behavior with the wrong product for years. When she switched to extra virgin and started using it cold on her salads instead of cooking with it, her numbers responded within a few weeks. Not dramatically on their own, but they moved. And combined with everything else, the movement added up. The regular olive oil in the grocery store has been processed. The processing removes the compound that calms the vessel wall irritation. Eleanor's bottle gave her the calories, not the thing that helps. The bottle has to say extra virgin, and it has to be used cold, on salad, drizzled over food after it is off the heat, not used for high heat cooking, because heat destroys the compound before it can reach your blood vessel walls. 2 to 4 tablespoons a day, cold. That is it. Go check your kitchen right now if you want. Look at the bottle. What does it say? If it says olive oil, pure olive oil, light olive oil, or classic olive oil, that is the refined version. The compound that calms the vessel wall irritation has been removed. Extra virgin is the one that still has it. Eleanor replaced her bottle the same week she found out. She started drizzling it on her salad every afternoon. She stopped cooking with it at high heat and used a different oil for that. A small change. A real effect. If you have a friend or parent using olive oil for their heart who has never been told about the extra virgin difference, share this video with them right now. That one word is the entire difference. Share button is right there. 3 things addressed: the squeeze signal, the stolen supply, the wall irritation. Eleanor's numbers were moving, but there were 4 more things still pushing in the wrong direction, and her cardiologist had never once looked at any of them. The next one involves something about your prescription that your prescription bottle never tells you. Something your cardiologist knows but has never had a reason to say out loud. A question that, once you hear it, you will want answered at your very next appointment. Hack number 4. Why your blood vessel walls overreact, and the thing that turns the sensitivity back down. There is a type of blood pressure pill called a calcium channel blocker. Many people are on it. The idea is this. When a blood vessel wall gets a signal to tighten, it uses calcium to do it. This pill blocks some of that calcium. Less tightening, lower pressure. Here is the question that pill has never answered. Why did the wall become so reactive in the first place? Why does it tighten from signals it would have ignored 20 years ago? What lowered the bar? The answer is something most seniors are low in. Something that has never been tested in most of the blood pressure appointments they have been to. Something that controls how jumpy those blood vessel walls are. When it is at the right level, your walls are calm. It takes a real signal to make them tighten. When it is low, your walls are on a hair trigger. They tighten from things that should not be strong enough to do anything. Your calcium channel blocker stops the wall after it decides to tighten. This thing stops the wall from deciding to tighten in the first place. It is called taurine, found naturally in seafood. Also available as a supplement for a few dollars a month. It is what keeps the environment inside your blood vessel wall calm and stable, so the wall does not overreact to things it should ignore. Most seniors have never heard of it in a blood pressure context. Most doctors have never mentioned it in a blood pressure appointment. It has never made it into the standard guidelines. But the studies are real, the mechanism is real, and Eleanor felt it in her readings within 2 weeks of adding it. Studies have found blood pressure reductions around 4 to 5 points on the top number from taurine alone. That sounds small, and in isolation, it is small. But this is where Eleanor's story becomes important to understand. She did not move 28 points because she found one big answer. She moved 28 points because she found 7 honest answers, each one small on its own, each one addressing a different part of the same system. The squeeze signal quieted, the open-up signal supply getting through, the wall irritation calmed, the hair trigger reset, all 4 running at the same time, none of them competing, none of them overlapping. 4 different faucets turning off, the tub finally starting to empty, and 3 more still to go. 1 to 3 grams a day, half in the morning, half at night. Taurine powder dissolves in water with no real taste. Capsules work fine too. Eleanor noticed her afternoon numbers improving first. The morning readings took about 2 more weeks. If you add taurine and watch your readings, that is the pattern to expect. Afternoons first. Mornings follow when the evening dose builds up consistently. The morning numbers took about 2 more weeks. Once she understood why, the pattern made sense. We will come back to that when we hit number 7. 4 things covered: the squeeze signal quieted, the supply getting through, the wall irritation calmed, the hair trigger reset, and I still have not shown you number 5. I want you to stay with me for the next 2, because number 6 is the strangest one in this whole list, and it is also the one that finally makes number 5 make sense. The reason I saved 5 for last has everything to do with what you are about to hear. I told you at the start, it is the one your doctor is most specifically not telling you. The one that is going to make you look at something in your kitchen. I am still holding it. One more before you get there. And this next one is going to sound like it has nothing to do with blood pressure, until it makes complete sense. And then number 5 is going to land exactly the way it should. Stay with me. Hack number 6. The messages your gut sends to your blood pressure, and why no one ever told you. Here is something that almost never gets said at a blood pressure appointment. Your gut sends direct messages to your blood vessels and your kidneys that affect your blood pressure. Not vague wellness signals, direct, measurable, chemical messages through a system that runs completely separately from anything your blood pressure pill was built to handle. Here is the simple version, and I promise this connects to hack number 5 in about 90 seconds. When the good bacteria in your gut are well fed, they produce certain chemicals. Those chemicals travel through your blood and reach your blood vessel walls and your kidneys. When they get there, your blood vessel walls are told to relax a little more, and your kidneys are told to hold off on sending the signal that raises your pressure. Both of those are good. Both happen on their own when those bacteria are doing their job. When those bacteria are not fed well, less of those chemicals get made. Your blood vessel walls get less of the relax message. Your kidneys get less of the hold-off message. Your pressure sits a little higher than it should, partly because of a conversation between your gut and your heart that your pill was never designed to join. Nobody has ever checked this in a blood pressure appointment. Not the population of those bacteria, not whether they are producing what they should, not what a person has been eating to feed them. The signals those bacteria produce are called short-chain fatty acids. The receptors in the blood vessel walls and kidneys that receive them are called GPR41 and GPR43. Those words do not matter for the fix. They matter because if you want to bring this to your doctor, you can say, I have been reading about short-chain fatty acid signaling through GPR43 receptors and blood pressure, and I want to know if anyone has looked at my gut microbiome in this context. Eleanor had been managing her blood pressure for 4 years, and this conversation had never once come up. Eleanor had cut salt for 4 years, aggressively. She had done everything right. She had never been told about any of this, not once. She told me that when she first heard about the gut bacteria and blood pressure connection, she sat for a moment and then said, "So I have been starving the part of my body that was supposed to be helping my heart." Nobody had ever once told her to feed those bacteria. They were running on almost nothing. 2 messages her body depended on, both too quiet, both contributing to numbers that would not move, and neither one connected to anything her doctor had ever looked at in 4 years of appointments. She had been working one lever for 4 years with discipline and dedication. 6 others had never been touched. And one of those 6, hack number 5, is the one she had been trying for years in the wrong version. She had the right idea. She had been buying the wrong product. The most common version of the most fixable mistake on this list. You are almost there. One more thing. Here is how to fix it. 2 parts. First, the food that feeds those specific bacteria. Leeks, asparagus, chicory, Jerusalem artichokes. Garlic and onions also help. These are the foods those bacteria thrive on. Work up to around 20 or 30 grams of this kind of fiber a day. Do it gradually over 2 or 3 weeks. If you go from low fiber to high fiber overnight, your gut will let you know it is not happy. The bacteria need time to grow into a population that can handle the supply. Second, fermented foods. Plain yogurt with live cultures, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, miso. 1 serving a day. The fiber feeds the bacteria. The fermented food keeps the bacterial population alive and working. One without the other is half the answer. Past the halfway mark now. 6 things covered. Eleanor's cardiologist covered 0 of these in 4 years. Not 1. You have covered more of Eleanor's actual biology in this 1 sitting than 4 years of quarterly appointments produced. And hack number 5 is next. The one I have been holding since the first sentence. The one I told you would make you look at something in your kitchen differently. Most people hear it and say, I already do that. They are right that the category helps. They have just been using the version where the specific part that helps has been removed. You are about to understand exactly why. And it is the same story as the olive oil and the garlic. Right food. Processed version. The thing that works, taken out. Hack number 5. What your blood vessel walls have been waiting for. And why the version in your kitchen is probably not giving it to them. Your blood vessel walls have little receiving stations in them. When a specific compound found in cacao reaches those stations, the walls get a direct signal to relax and open up. The compounds are called cacao flavonols. The pathway they activate is called the PDE5 pathway. You do not need to remember any of that for the fix. You just need to know which chocolate to buy and how much to eat. But if you want to bring it to your doctor, now you have the words. Eleanor did. That is what made the cardiologist put the pen down in the middle of the appointment and ask her to say it again. Not from a pill, not from a hormone, directly, through a pathway that no blood pressure medication in the world currently activates. The compound arrives, the signal fires, the muscle lets go. Studies back this up. A review of 20 clinical trials found real drops in blood pressure from this compound, measurable in 2 weeks. A separate study in elderly patients found nearly 3 points off the top number over 18 weeks from a small daily amount. Eleanor had been eating chocolate every afternoon for years. She had read dark chocolate was good for the heart. She was right that it can be. She was eating milk chocolate, below 50% cacao. Same story as the olive oil. Same story as the garlic. Right category, wrong version. The part that helps had been processed out. Milk chocolate at that level has almost none of the compound that activates those receiving stations. And the sugar in milk chocolate does its own damage to how flexible your blood vessel walls are over time. Eleanor's afternoon chocolate habit was not wrong. The idea was right. The category was right. She had just been in it for 45 years, buying the wrong product within the right category. And nobody had ever told her the difference mattered. The product was wrong, by about 45 years of choosing milk chocolate when she should have been choosing something specific. Here is the part that surprises most people. There is a processing method called Dutch processing that creates that deep dark color and smooth flavor by treating the cacao with alkali. It strips out most of what makes cacao good for your blood vessels. The richest looking bar is often the most processed and the least effective. What you want is dark chocolate that says at least 75% cacao, and specifically not Dutch processed. It will be a little bitter. The bitterness is the compound that activates those receiving stations in your blood vessel walls. 20 grams a day, about 4 small squares. The product label is your guide. If it does not say the cacao percentage, it is probably not high enough. If it says Dutch processed or alkalized, put it back. Eleanor switched. $3 more a week. Her afternoon numbers, which had always been her second worst readings of the day, improved measurably within 3 weeks. Her cardiologist noticed the afternoon trend in her home monitor log before she had said a word. He looked at the numbers, looked at Eleanor, asked what she had changed. She opened the notebook. She walked him through all 7. He wrote things down. When she got to number 5, dark chocolate, 75% cacao, not Dutch processed. The receiving station in the blood vessel wall that no medication reaches. He put his pen down. Asked her to say that again, slowly. 22 years as a cardiologist, and this had never come up in a patient conversation. She handed him the research. He read it right there in the appointment. He asked a few questions. He wrote down the name of the study. He told her he had not come across this in practice before. 4 years of appointments. 4 years with a careful and thorough cardiologist who genuinely wanted her numbers to come down. He was not dismissive. He was not careless. He followed the guidelines exactly. He checked the numbers every appointment. He adjusted doses thoughtfully. He added a second pill at year 2 when the first was not enough. He ran the blood panels that the guidelines recommend. Everything in those panels came back close to normal. Because the things that were wrong in Eleanor's case were not on those panels. They had never been on those panels. The guidelines just were not built to find what Eleanor eventually found. 4 years. She had done everything he told her to do. And it took her doing her own research, walking him through 7 mechanisms he had never investigated, and handing him a printed journal article for the conversation to finally go somewhere different. She was not angry about this. She understood the system. She was just relieved she had finally found the full picture. But she told me afterward that she almost stopped before number 7. That number 7 seemed too simple, too much like general health advice, and not enough like a real intervention. She was wrong about that, and here is why. But there is still one more. And this one decides whether everything the first 6 built during the day holds through the night, or gets slowly worn away while you sleep. Because your body has a repair window, it only opens during one specific stage of sleep. Most seniors with stubborn blood pressure are not reaching that stage, not because they cannot sleep, for 3 specific reasons that every one of them can fix. Hack number 7, the repair window that opens when you sleep, and 3 things that are keeping it shut. When you fall into deep sleep, the stage doctors and researchers call slow-wave sleep, or non-REM stage 3, the specific deep stage that happens in the first few hours after you drift off. Something happens in your body that cannot happen at any other time. Your blood pressure drops 10 to 20%. Your blood vessel walls use this window to repair small damage that built up during the day. The open-up signal that got low during waking hours gets refilled. The irritation in the walls gets processed. The pressure hormones that ran high all day drop to their lowest point. Your body uses this window like a repair crew uses the overnight hours when the road is closed. Everything that cannot be fixed while traffic is moving gets fixed when everything goes quiet. Miss enough nights of this window, and the damage from the day stacks up faster than your daytime efforts can clear it. Seniors who do not reach this stage wake up with their blood pressure already on the high side. They are carrying everything from the day before without having cleared any of it, before they have even taken their morning pill. Eleanor's mornings were always her worst readings. She had accepted this as just how mornings were. It was not just how mornings were. It was what happens when the overnight repair window does not open. The pill arrives late to a problem that has been building since midnight. A major heart journal found that seniors whose blood pressure does not drop during sleep had significantly more heart problems over time, regardless of what their daytime numbers looked like. Not slightly more, significantly more. That nighttime drop is not a bonus. It is not optional. It is how the system is supposed to work. And most seniors with stubborn blood pressure are not getting it. Not because they sleep badly, not because they are getting older. For 3 specific, practical, fixable reasons that most blood pressure appointments have never once discussed. Eleanor had all 3. She did not know any of them were a problem. When she fixed all 3, her morning readings changed within 10 days. Most seniors miss this deep repair stage for 3 reasons. Not because they are getting older, not because something is wrong with them. 3 specific things, all of them fixable, 2 of them fixable tonight. Eleanor was missing all 3, every night, for 4 years. The 6 things she had been building during the day, the squeeze signal quieted, the supply getting through, the wall irritation calmed, the walls less jumpy, the gut messages stronger, the receiving stations activated. All of it was slowly losing ground every night because the repair window never fully opened. She was building something every day that was being partially torn down every night. When she fixed all 3 sleep issues, her body finally got what it had been waiting for. The overnight work finally happened. The morning numbers started reflecting it within 10 days. The first is a mineral most seniors are running low in. Without enough of it, the brain cannot shift from light sleep into the deep repair stage. It keeps cycling through the shallower stages all night without going all the way down. The form that actually gets into the brain is magnesium glycinate, 200 to 400 milligrams an hour before bed. Not regular magnesium glycinate specifically. Eleanor's magnesium had never been tested in 4 years of blood pressure management. Not once. You can ask your doctor to check yours. If it is low, the specific form that gets into the brain is magnesium glycinate, not oxide, which mostly acts as a laxative, not citrate for this purpose, glycinate specifically. The second is bedroom temperature. Your body triggers deep sleep by cooling itself down. If the room is too warm, that cooling does not happen properly, and the deep stage either does not come or comes late and briefly. Research shows a bedroom between 60 and 67 degrees gets most people there reliably. Most seniors sleep warmer than that. The cool room is not about comfort. It is the signal your body is waiting for. The third one is going to be the hardest to hear, because it involves something most people think is actually helping them sleep. Even 1 glass of wine with dinner cuts the deep repair stage short in the second half of the night. You still fall asleep fine. You still feel like you slept. But the repair window got cut off. The blood pressure did not reset. The senior who has a glass of wine every evening, sleeps 8 hours, wakes up feeling okay, and still cannot get their numbers down, may have been missing the repair window every single night without knowing it. Eleanor was sleeping in a warm room. She had wine with dinner several nights a week because it helped her relax after a long day. Her magnesium had never been checked in 4 years of blood pressure management. Not once. The mineral that controls whether her brain can reach the deep repair stage had never appeared on a single blood panel. When she added magnesium glycinate before bed, brought her bedroom temperature down, and stopped the evening wine, her morning numbers, which had always been her worst readings of the day, started improving within 10 days. Not weeks, 10 days. Because the repair window was finally open and the body was finally doing what it had been trying to do for years. Not a new pill, not a higher dose. The repair window finally opened, and the body finally got to do what it had been trying to do every night for 4 years. She told me the first morning she noticed a difference. She actually checked her home monitor twice because she thought it was a mistake. She set it down and waited 5 minutes and checked again. Same number. She wrote it in the notebook. She underlined it. It was not a mistake. It was just what happens when the system finally gets to run the way it was built to run. All 7 now, all at the same time. 28 points off her top number. 11 weeks. Eleanor checked the home monitor every morning, the same way she always had. The difference was in the notebook. Numbers she had been chasing for 4 years started moving in the right direction and staying there. The cardiologist who wrote resistant hypertension on page 43 cut her second pill in half. Eleanor asked him what he thought had made the difference. He said he was not sure which one did the most. She showed him the notebook. She told me afterward that when she walked into that appointment, she was not nervous. She had been nervous at appointments for 4 years. The same small anxiety every time she sat down and watched the nurse put the cuff on. Waiting for a number she had tried everything to change. Waiting to hear it was still not right. Waiting for the next adjustment. For 4 years, she had walked into that room wondering what she was doing wrong. This time, she had her notebook. But it was different from the usual notebook. This time, the notebook had answers in it, not just questions. She had 7 pages of notes she had written herself. She had printed the studies and highlighted the parts she wanted to show him. She had been a patient at that appointment for 4 years. This time, she came in as something else entirely. She came in as someone who understood what was causing the problem. Someone who had done the work outside the appointment that the appointment never had time to do. Someone who, for the first time in 4 years, was not sitting in that chair waiting to hear what her body had failed to do. She had 7 pages of answers. The most surprising part, she told me, was not the number, not the pill being cut. Not even the cardiologist reading her research in the room. It was the conversation. After 47 appointments that had all been versions of the same 15 minutes, this one had been different. Not because the doctor changed, because Eleanor had. 4 years of appointments, every single one a version of the same exchange. How are you feeling? Let me take your pressure. The top number is still a little high. I am going to adjust this dose. Come back in 8 weeks. Nobody had ever sat across from Eleanor and said, before we talk about the dose, let me ask you what might be causing the pressure to stay elevated. Not once in 4 years. The appointment was not built for that question. The question was not in the guidelines. The 15 minutes ran out before it was ever asked. She had walked every morning, eaten carefully, taken every pill on time without missing a day. She just never knew there were 7 other things still pushing back. There are people watching this right now who have Eleanor's notebook. Maybe it is not a physical notebook. Maybe it is a notes app on a phone. Maybe it is just the memory of a number that was too high, and an adjustment, and a follow-up, and another adjustment, and a word that made everything feel less fixable than it actually is. Who wrote down resistant hypertension, or heard it said out loud, and accepted it? Who walk every morning when it is cold and when it is raining and when they do not feel like it? Who have cut every grain of salt from their cooking? Who take every pill at the same time every day without missing once? Who sit at that appointment and answer the same questions and watch the doctor look at the same numbers and reach for the same prescription pad? They are not failing. They have never been failing. They were just never given the second page of the instruction manual. The appointment is 15 minutes. The biology is bigger than 15 minutes. That is what this channel is for. The blood pressure protocol is the first link in the description. It says, get your protocol, not a supplement list. The appointment that finally goes differently. The morning the number on the home monitor is the best it has been in years, and no new pill caused it. The conversation where the doctor puts the pen down and asks you to say something again. The prescription that goes from 2 pills to 1, not because a third was added, but because 7 real things were finally handled. The page after page 43 that does not say resistant hypertension. That says something like, number is the best it has been in 2 years, or second pill reduced by half, or cardiologist asked what changed. Those pages exist for people who found the full picture, not just the one lever the appointment was built to handle. Eleanor's notebook has those pages now. They are in the same notebook, just later in it. The handwriting is the same, the format is the same, the date column, the number column, the notes column. Page 43 is still in there. It always will be. So is everything that came after, all 40 pages of it. That is what the first link is for. Get your protocol. Eleanor printed it out and brought it to her appointment. She told me it was 12 pages. She had highlighted the parts she wanted to discuss. Her cardiologist asked if he could keep a copy. If you are not subscribed, subscribe now. The next video covers why all of this gets harder specifically for women after menopause. After menopause, the hormonal change affects the open-up signal directly. The mechanism is specific. The fix is specific. And most women who have been on blood pressure medication for years after menopause have never been told this connection exists. That video is the direct follow-up to everything you just learned. Subscribe so you do not miss it when it goes up. And if you know someone who has been on blood pressure medication for years and has never had this conversation, share this video with them. Not just the extra virgin olive oil, the whole video. Because the whole picture is what moved Eleanor's number. Before you go, one last thing before you go. Leave a comment right now with how many years you have been on blood pressure medication, and whether any doctor has ever looked into any of these 7 things in any of those appointments. Not one of the 7, any of them. Just the years and a yes or a no. I read every one. If you have been on medication for more than 2 years and the answer is no, you are not alone. That number in the comments is the reason this channel exists. It is also the number that tells me what to make next.